I have a problem. I need to fight Count Dracula, but I don't know how to dance. So, I built this torture device. Should I give them some context? Laser pizza cutters! That's what the world really needs! My fellow humans, I bid you welcome! あれは一体何だったの？そしてなぜ私は日本語を話しているのですか？
はじめました。番号8085。ファンキな宇宙が大きな危険にさらされているため、あんたは召喚されました。
私を信じてください。あんたは間違った日を選びました。また、なぜこの次元のブローブロードに尋ねなかったのか？
あのバカはレモネードをたくさん飲んで、今はほとんど死んでいる。
あ、なるほど。理解できる。もしわかりませんが、私はアキです。そして名付けなきゃいけないの？
断るなら、お前の罪を償うために、古いやつやの前に連れて行こうか。
攻撃しますが、恐竜の洞窟の近くに幼稚園か。だって生えたのは私のせいではありません。
いえ、何を言っているのか分かりません。私はジンバブエでの出来事について話しています。
おー、それは私のせいでした。わかりました。私は何をすべきですか？
毒薬や伯爵が眠りから覚めた。あんたの目標は彼を倒すことです。
私はすでに数回それをしました。オリビア、決闘か？それともステルス任務、警報器でもいいですか？わかった。武術を使いぞ。
あんたは間違っています。対決はダンス大会。
くそ！ I am really bad at dancing. I mean, really bad. Like blindfolded and hearing impaired Stegosaurus on ice. Bad. My only contact with the world of music was using my flute as a blowgun when I was a kid and losing in the first 20 seconds when I tried a song from Shakira on a clone of Dance Dance Revolution in a sketch arcade. By the way, cue Shakira? Oh wait, rhythm games? That could actually work! Yes! Why would I embarrass myself in front of a bunch of people in a dancing school when I can embarrass myself in front of hundreds of people on the internet? In case you have no idea what I'm talking about, which is quite likely considering this is a very niche topic, there are these video games where you have to gracefully stomp on huge buttons on the ground to dance along with the music and follow a certain pattern shown by arrows on the screen. And then there's people like this. And I have no idea how that can even be possible. This must be the greatest hoax in the history of humankind because I refuse to believe a person can actually do this kind of stuff. To get started, we need a couple of things. First, a software, and that's pretty easy. I'm a programmer, after all. I can just steal from the internet and pretend I did the heavy lifting. That's like 95% of my daily job. I downloaded Stepmania and a couple of songs. Stepmania? Mania? Mania. Stepmania. I downloaded Stepmania and a couple of songs to play, chosen with a lot of care. I wrote video game on Google and took the first couple of packages that came up. Then we need a dance pad. We could buy one from Amazon for $25, or I can build a shitty one myself for much, much more. I really need to find a second job as a stripper. Or open a Patreon, which is pretty much the same. I've been asked, my lord, why don't you show more of the building process in your videos? Me. So fine. Now you will have to watch 35 minutes of me slowly and painstakingly cutting acrylic with a knife. Are you having fun? No, okay. I don't have that much patience. Precision. Much better. Somebody once told me the world is gonna roll me. I ain't the sharpest tool in a shed. She was looking kind of dumb with a finger and a thumb in a shape on her forehead. I really like sanding, said no one ever. 1, 2, 3, 4 arrows done. Now we need the wooden structure. Here we go again. Ah yes, the glamorous life of YouTubers. Eating reheated cannelloni seasoned with microplastics and sawdust. Cheers!
That's amore.
Che è una pizza pie? Okay, so we have the 4 arrows and the centerpiece. Amazing. Then I will have to find a way to route the cables and fill these 4 gaps, but that's a problem for future me.
E dai! Ma perché mi taglio sempre le unghie prima di fare sti lavori? Ma mannaggia a me!
Ah, glorious! After several very masculine playlists later, we finally made some progress. So, to recap, in the 4 corners and in the center we will have some pieces of wood to cover up this ugly, horrible mess. While the 4 arrows will be giant buttons with cables running through the grooves and then out this way. How do we make them? That's a nice question. If you've been on this channel for a while, you probably remember the time I built a pressure plate trap with aluminum foil, and it worked better than expected, so we can try again. However, this time we need something a bit more sophisticated. My lord! What the hell is that? Well, have you ever broken a remote when you were a kid? I surely didn't. Mom, but if you did, you probably have noticed that this is very similar to how buttons work in actual everyday electronics. These are 2 separate traces of conductive material that form an open circuit. But when you step on the pressure plate, these strips of aluminum will connect the traces and close the circuit, acting as a switch. I hope. Day 2 of my it will take a couple of hours build. Yesterday I worked a bit more and apparently I reached new heights of sloppiness in execution. Like, this one is fine and then they progressively start to get worse and worse, but that's okay, I was tired. That's my excuse. Time to solder with this absolute dog crap of a $2 iron and solder from 1827, so this will be fun. Let's just pretend this never happened and the soldering fairy did her job overnight. Wow, thank you, Solder Fairy, a marvelous job indeed. That I'm sure only involved moderate amounts of swearing. But now, quite an important question. Does it work? Because if it doesn't, I'm going to take a shower with my toaster. So, this goes here, and then when I press, Wadam! It's time to finally start putting the buttons together. At first I wanted to use screws, but then I thought that I'm not too fond of the idea of constantly stepping on sharp metal objects. So, double-sided tape to the rescue.
Ma porca di quella puttana!
Ah, campo. I never use double-sided tape, but when I do, I make sure to build an entire project with it. Voila! We are done! And it's not even that ugly! I mean, on a scale of 1 to 10, I will give it a solid 4. And a beaver emoji. All that is left to do is create the circuit and write the software. I need a computer.
3 hours later.
You know, up until a few minutes ago, I was quite happy with this project because it was going surprisingly smoothly, at least for my standards, until I discovered that my entire plan for the electronics is to be thrown in the trash. Because this specific board that I own, and only this, cannot be used as a keyboard input, and that was the entire point. I really have no idea how to fix this, and I am in the middle of nowhere with no Amazon deliveries, so I can't buy a different board. Why does stuff like this always happen in every single video? Toc toc! Hey! Anyone there? Wakey wakey, you sleeping beauty! Oh, you are finally awake!
Hi? Sorry, who am I talking to?
Number 47666, vampire hunter from 12th century Bohemia. Very pleased to meet you. I heard you are having trouble in your quest to defeat Dracula, so I set up a Zoom call to come to your rescue.
Oh, that's very nice of you. But wait, do you guys have computers?
Of course we do, sweetie. How do you think the Aztecs landed on the moon? With pen and paper?
Ah, silly question. Anyway, how can you help?
Well, for example, I could give you an idea. Since your Arduino cannot work as a direct human interface device, you could use it to open a serial port that is then monitored by a Python script running as a background process, which then sends data to the game, acting as a virtual keyboard.
Huh, it could actually work, I guess. However, how the hell do you know this kind of stuff? It makes no sense.
This is a dream, darling. Your dreams never make any sense. Remember the one with the squids?
Yep. Okay then, thank you for your help.
It was my pleasure. Bye!
Bye. Bye.
Week 4 of my I will be done by evening project. I had to resolder everything 3 times and fix 80 million bugs in 40 lines of code, and I don't think I am capable of feeling emotions anymore, but now it works! Look, if I press on one of the white tiles, I can write a letter on the computer. Cool! Now there's only one thing left to do. Learn to dance.
Okay, this is the kind of situation where a fancy gaming laptop would really come in handy, so if you happen to be a manufacturer that wants to support the channel, there's an email address in the description, so... Sorry, Switch, I need your HDMI for some real hardcore gaming.
Avanti, indietro. Avanti, indietro.
Ho fallito all'ultimo passo.
I know, we all hate cliffhangers, but this video was already long enough and part 2 will be just as long. Thank you so much for watching and tune in tomorrow to see the end of this adventure. See you there, take care.